What's good, y'all? Back again, another day. It's your boy, the Curtis Short, and today this video is going to be talking about the issues that come along with productivity and sometimes how being too productive can hurt you. But before we get into that, man, I got to do some house cleaning, man. I want to thank everybody that's been liking, commenting, subscribing, sharing, and just really helping your boy out through this time. For those of you who don't know, I am currently unemployed. I recently lost my job, and just reading the comments and responding and talking to everybody that's been new to the channel, I really appreciate you guys, man. Welcome if you're new here. If you're one of my true blues that's been consistent from day one, I appreciate you as well. Just sharing my experiences, things that I've been through in life and whatnot. And I feel like right now this is a topic that I've come across and I think it'll help a lot of people, so let's talk about it. The rise of social media and Internet 2.0 has opened the door for a lot of people to have voices. And what happens is a lot of these people have voices, and a lot of them are good, a lot of them say really good things, but then there's a lot of people who kind of don't have the best intentions, or they sell false promises, or things just don't really work out the way that they say that they will be. And I personally am a firm believer of being productive and being efficient. I believe in efficiency. I believe in getting things done. And the thing about that is a lot of people don't tell you what happens when you are being extremely productive or when you are being efficient. They always tell you, oh, your money will go up tenfold and whoop-de-whoop and blah blah blah. And yes, that is true, but oftentimes they don't tell you the side effects of what comes with that. And that's what I want to talk about. And something else I want to talk about is you guys. I really want to make sure that you guys like, comment, subscribe, and share. I'm really enjoying the engagement. It's helping me out. Your boy is unemployed, and you guys commenting is showing YouTube to support your boy and put money behind me so I can feed these 202 babies and my 8-year-old and my wife who likes very nice things. So yeah, man. And plus, bro, we just got bills to pay. It is a recession, as I keep telling y'all. But anyway, enough about that. Let's get serious, guys. So I want to talk about the side effects, man. So one of the biggest ones that I don't really hear people talk about, or when people do talk about it, they try to downplay it and make it seem like it's not that big of a deal, but it is a huge deal. When you're being very productive and you're producing at high levels, there comes a very high level of stress. I often talk about my background and my experience. I've been in the workforce for 15 plus years at this point. There's been times where I've been working for myself, and I've been dabbling in entrepreneurship, or I've had side hustles and businesses. And when doing those things, especially if you don't have a 9 to 5, then you're always operating under a very high level of stress, because you have to perform. You can't miss. You have to be productive. You have to be efficient, because every time you aren't, it literally costs you money. So you have to make sure that you're always on point. You're always doing everything that you are supposed to be doing. There's no margin for error whatsoever. And that can add a lot of stress, just having that weight on your shoulder of knowing that if I mess up this deal, or if I don't bring home X amount of dollars, or if I don't get this done by this time, I don't want to have to deal with the consequences. And that can lead to very stressful situations. Something else that I don't think I've ever really heard anybody talk about at all when you're being very productive is that sometimes you get the lazy title. And I know some of you are like, well, if I'm being productive, how in the world can I be lazy? Hear me out. I'm going to explain. So sometimes when you're being so productive and you're being so efficient, you finish early, and whereas in a lot of cases, those types of things are rewarded. So if you're working on a house and you finish the house ahead of schedule, then more than likely your clients will be happy because you finished early and they get to move in sooner. But what happens if you finish early and that client isn't ready to move in yet because they were expecting to be moving in 2 months and they don't have their money together? Well, now, even though you finished early, that house is costing you money because it can't close yet. And let's say that you finish the house early and the client's back out. Well, now you got to find a new client to fill in that house, which, it could be a bad thing. And that's a very big, broad scenario. I'm just trying to paint pictures. On a much smaller scale, if you work in the office and, you have a set of tasks that you do every day, and you come up with a system that allows you to finish those tasks early, and you have downtime, others may think that you're not doing anything or you're being unproductive, or they may try to fill out your time, which is actually what I'm going to talk about next. They may think that because you're not doing anything and they don't see you moving, that you're not being productive, even though you've been extremely productive and you finished everything. You've just been efficient. Sometimes that can bite you in the butt. And I'm going to talk about solutions and how to overcome those things. But first, I want to lay out the problems. And like I said earlier, another one would be filling up that space with more activity. So usually what happens is people say that they want to be more productive, or they want to schedule better, or they want to be more efficient so that they can have more time. And usually when people say that, what they really mean is that they want to try to get more stuff done in a day instead of, having room to just have space. Because what a lot of people do is they get in this worker mindset where they feel like they always have to work. They always have to be busy. And if they're not busy, then they're not being productive or efficient. And, usually what happens is if you're just being busy just to be busy, then you're actually wasting time and you're being unproductive. Sometimes the most productive thing you can do is have a free mind. That way you can think and you can plan and you can strategize. If you're always running around, if you're always putting out fires, it's very hard to predict things. It's very hard to plan ahead. So in those situations, what you want to do is, take a step back and make sure that you don't just fill up the space just because you're done. If you're in an office setting, then obviously you're going to have to, it depends on your office setting politics and, the games that people play around you and the ecosystem. If you always have to be busy, then what you may want to do is help someone else out, which we'll talk about later. But the next one that I noticed that is a pattern of people that are too productive is burnout. And burnout, of course, you could just say additional stress, but burnout is a little different. Burnout causes, depression. Burnout leads into questioning and wondering things. And usually for me, I feel like if I'm experiencing burnout, it's because I'm doing something that I'm not really my core isn't really aligned with. For me, I'm a very artistic person, but I'm also very efficient and I'm very detail oriented. So for me, I have to make sure that the thing that I'm doing it on my own terms, and I have free time and I have that time to think. If I'm just doing a bunch of things just to do them, then I will be burnt out because my core isn't aligned with those things. I'm just doing things. I'm doing busy work. And I'm not a busy work type of person. I like to strategize. I like to plan. I like to figure out the best way to get things done. That way we can allocate our time. And if we need to do more work, then we can do more work. But I'm not in the mindset of working just to work, because when you work just to work, you're creating problems. And, lastly, this one for me personally, I don't think it ranks very high, but it is important. And that is something that I'm actually working on. And this is the loss of social time. For me, I'm married, I have my wife and my kids, and that is my social time. Those are the people that I want to interact with. But even that, sometimes I feel like I don't spend enough time with my wife, or I don't spend enough time with the kids because, I'm trying to get things done. And sometimes things do run over. Sometimes things do bleed over. So, being productive is a balancing act because, even on a macro scale, if you look at the economy, when, somebody overproduces something, then the demand goes down. It's supply and demand. Or, when you overproduce something and people don't want it, then what happens is you have to sell that stuff at a discount, which means a loss. You're losing profit in order to try to recoup some money so you can reinvest it. So even on a larger scale, if you produce too much and people don't want it, or they don't see the value in it, or they can't use it, then you usually end up throwing it away. Restaurants, at the end of the night, when people don't pick up their orders, or if they've made too much food, a lot of times they end up throwing that stuff away. It goes to waste. Some people donate that food, and there's various other things they do with it. But sometimes when you make too much food, they just throw it away because they can't do anything with it. Now, those are the problems. I want to talk about the solutions, and some of them I kind of did touch on while I was listening to the problems, because I try not to be a problem-oriented person. I try to always think of solutions. And so, here are some solutions that you can do with if you do see yourself being too productive. Yes, it is a real thing. So first, what you want to do is find a release of some sort. It can be video games, it can be comics, it could be music. A lot of people have different things that they do to escape. Escapism is real, and escapism isn't always a bad thing. Sometimes you do need to unplug, and you need to do something with low stress, or you need to do something that's highly engaging, that's just a hobby, and you're not trying to make money off of it, or you're not trying to advance yourself for your career. Sometimes you just need to do something just for the fun of doing it, for the sake of doing it. Sometimes it's good to just have a release activity. Also, you can help others. If you're being very productive and you're finished, then what you can do is you can show others what you've done and help them implement those strategies. Especially if you're like in a manager position, or you want to be in a manager position, then what you want to do is show others how to do what you're doing. Of course, a lot of people, depending on how your mind works and how strategic you are, you don't want to show people too much, because then they can just replace you. But at the same time, if you have a skill set, then you'll always be okay. So wherever you go, if you build people that can replace you, then what happens is either you'll move up or you'll move somewhere else, but you'll always have somewhere to go, because you have a skill set that you can duplicate and apply everywhere. So, helping people and showing them how to do what you're doing and how to be efficient, it really goes a long way. So, for example, one time I worked for a truck and logistics company, and I was making like 300 calls a day. And I think I broke the record for, a trainee making calls in a day. And when I was doing it, once I hit my goal, my goal at one point was like 2,000 calls in a week. And so, one time I hit my goal on like Wednesday or Tuesday, because I was just getting up, going to work at 6 o'clock and starting calls at 8 and ending around 2:30, 3 o'clock. I was in front of everybody. And, I had people around me. I would give them some game. I would give them tips. I would give them suggestions. And, I was showing them that I could be a manager. And I was showing them that I was dedicated, and I was going above and beyond to complete the task. And I was also staying productive, because if not, I would have just got bored, because it was a call center setting and I had to be there. It wasn't a work from home situation or anything like that. I had to be there. So I had to figure out a way to fill that space, but I had to do it in a way where I wasn't burning myself out or stressing myself out. I was doing something that was fun for me, because I enjoy teaching. I enjoy helping people. I was a teacher at one point in my life. We'll talk about that one day. But, for me, filling that space was something that was engaging for me. It helped out a lot. And, it'll help you. And finally, as far as being social and having social time, if you're being productive, then you gotta plan that time. You gotta plan a break, and you gotta plan ways to spend time with the people that you care about. Because, at the end of the day, life isn't that fun if you don't have people to share it with. We often talk about how we're individualists and how, we did it ourselves and blah, 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 whoop-de-whoop. Cool. But the reality is, the only way you can do something by yourself is if you live by yourself without people, on an island somewhere or in the woods somewhere that isn't affected by government regulation or anything like that, which is highly unlikely. So you need people, and you need social interaction. I saw an article the other day that people's brain sizes shrink when they don't communicate with other people. So that's the video, guys. I'm going to go ahead on and wrap it up here. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share if you found this information valuable, which I hope you did. Let's continue the dialogue. Let me know what you think. I'm getting this content from you guys in the comments. There's a lot of things that I want to share with you guys. This one actually came from my brother Jay. Shout out to Jay, man. He came up Sunday and we went to the football game together. I really appreciate the time that we spent. You know, he was just talking about how sometimes when you're being too productive, it can hurt you. Off that conversation, I'm like, I gotta make a video about this. So, you know, be mindful. Some of the things that you comment are gonna pop up in these videos. I am gonna shout you out and get you your flowers though. So with that being said, if you like this one, check out the last one. All right.